This is the BEnergyAware Podcast. When crisis hits, we're without a doubt first in shock. And then we do our best to deal with what's going on, and we try to adapt to the changes the best way we can and know how to. There's also something about that a certain kind of change might be required from us as well. In this episode, I talk with Melanie Requet. Melanie shares about her experience dealing with the current crisis and how she's staying true to herself through all of it. So, yes, how to stay true to yourself in times of crisis. What does that mean for you? Staying true to yourself in times like these.
I think there's many layers, and it's a very personal business. We all have a different way to connect to our true self, to our center, to our heart. And we have all been through different traumas, different experience in our lives. And when there is crisis, upheaval, when nothing is for sure anymore, all the concept that we had of what society is supposed to look like and what security is supposed to look like, when all that falls apart, what is left? How do we reconnect to ourselves? How do we stay connected to our soul, to our purpose, to our personal truth? Yeah, it's a very challenging exercise for me personally. With what's going on right now in the world, I had to stop and I had to feel. I had an enormous amount of feelings. There was a lot of grief, letting go of the way I was running not only my business, but my life, my way of being in the world. There's my normal life all, crumbled in a couple days, and I could see it fall down like a little castle of cards, and it was really, really frightening. And I had the realization that this is it. This is gone. I there's nothing I can do to hold this old life together. And I had a deep feeling in my heart that this wasn't a quick thing in passing. For me, it right away, I really sensed in my heart that no, this is going to be a new reality, and this was here to last. Maybe not for decades, but month, year, 2 years. We'll see. But I had this strong inner feeling that this wasn't going to last a week or two, and this was going to be affecting the way it was going to be affecting my life in a big, big way.
Yeah, so that's a big, big change, and you seem to be doing really well accepting the change and adapting to this change. But what did you in those moments, what did you really need to do for yourself? I mean, it must have been really hard, and maybe to say a little bit about that and the benefits that you found that came out of it already so far.
Yeah, I just let myself be taken by fear and by grief. I just had to surrender. I didn't want to choose to be in denial. I didn't want to continue, running and doing. It was very clear for me that it wasn't a time of doing, but it was a time of feeling. So I kind of, allowed myself to fall down on my knees and wept and cried and punch the floor and be like, wow. I let myself feel that I was really unhappy about the situation. Yeah, there was something big that it was happening, and I let myself feel the grief and feel the anger. And I'm still making space in my every day to feel this anger and this fear, and I don't want to shut it down. I don't want to pretend that, I know in my heart and soul that love will prevail. I know that the light will come back and will win, but I know that it is very, very important to be with my emotions and to allow myself to feel, yeah, all those, emotions that are labeled as negative or bad. Yeah, I didn't want to hold my shit together or myself together. I chose to let it go. And it, yeah, I didn't want to alarm anyone or, make it public to the world or being, exposing everybody to my emotions on social media. But I wanted to really pay attention and honor that I was feeling all those feelings. Yeah, that was my first step.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And did you at first label it bad, as this situation being bad, or did you know in your heart that it's going to bring good things in the long term?
No, at first I could only see the darkness. At first I wasn't able to grab onto the light. I had to be with what was there, and what was there were overwhelming feeling of despair and distress. And then it shifted. I as usual, I really tried to hold myself the best I could with feeling my emotions at the same time. So making also, I spent a lot of time in nature, and I felt, I spent time with my feet on the ground. I was spending like 4 hours a day outside walking, bare feet in the sand on the beach or in the grass in the park. I would sit by trees and hold them and try to meditate, even though it was really difficult to meditate and to calm myself and to regulate my anxiety. But nature was really the first piece that saved me. It was the first step to regulate my nervous system and help me catch my breath so I could also, after a little while, it was taking me, maybe it would take me a few hours, but I could see the sun shining through the clouds, and I could see, the flowers blooming on the trees, and I could look at the dogs playing in the park, and I could see the beauty and the joy, and I could see that life was going on. Life was there all around me, nature, beauty, love, light. But I didn't have expectations of me to be able to switch right away back to that place, that centered, grounded place. Most of my days were spent in this pool of despair and grieving, and I feel like I had to grieve my old life and grieve also not only my business but also the world. I realized that I was gonna witness my city changing. I was gonna witness the world changing. Like everything that I knew was normal and was supposed to be safe and steady. It wasn't. There was no guaranteed anymore. I had no control. I couldn't hold on anything. So, yeah, grieving the normality of my life and the false security that I thought I had. Yeah.
And now that you're grounded and centered and connected to your heart, how is that now for you moving forward?
Hmm.
Being really aligned with yourself and with your heart and with your
Mm-hmm.
soul. It's a change of perspective, you did what
Mm-hmm.
you had to do, you surrendered, you felt the feelings, and there's more to feel, and you're
Yeah.
just allowing this natural process to take place. Once you aligned yourself, once you got grounded and centered, from there on, what is it like? What has it been like so far?
Yeah, it was like I had to take my power back. My mind, my fearful mind, needed some reassurance. So the second step was to educate myself to what was going on. I started to watch informations that was coming from different sources, and I started to read a lot of things and listen to a lot of podcasts, and I was aware that I was choosing some sources of information that were scientific, some that were politics, some that were what people around me were saying. So it's like, the social media things that are in the field of everybody, but who knows what the source is. I really had to get informed, and I had to it was like understanding what was going on. Okay, there's a viral epidemic that is happening all over the world. All right. And there's a economical impact that this epidemic situation is having all over the world. There's a politic impact that is impacting the whole planet as well. And I try to really feed my fearful mind with the good, legitimate informations. So I try to learn and empower myself with a lot of information so I could grasp what was going on. And that was the second step. That was also absolutely feeling the fear, but it was empowering to know more. And then the third step was to be okay. I am content. I feel empowered. My mind, my fearful mind, has something to grasp on. I have an understanding of what's going on in the world. I have an understanding of what I can do to keep myself safe and my loved ones safe. Then I can choose where I put my attention on. And then there was a discernment on, okay, I understand what the medical system is saying. I have a good understanding of what the politicians are asking us to do. Now that I have, a foundation of knowledge, I can feed myself with what my spiritual teachers are saying. What are the spiritual leaders in the world saying about this? What do they see that I cannot see yet? So I then went and was seeking information that was uplifting, that was expansive, that could give me perspective. And that's where I stay. That's where I stay plugged in right now. And that's part of my self-care routine, my daily self-care routine, to listen to spiritual leaders and teachers every day, and to understand that life goes on. Even though there's upheaval in the world, even though there's a crisis going on at this time, life will go on. And we have to, and what's the most important is that we are living in a centered place, centered, grounded place in our heart. And we come from a place of love, and that we connect to the world and to our loved one from that place, that mindful, compassionate, loving place. So we can hold each other, we can hold one another in the best possible way, so we can survive these times, and we can together recover and rebuild whatever there will be to rebuild around us, this new world that we will have to rebuild, the post crisis world.
And yes, so you've described the steps really well. But what I'm curious about now is, the steps of feeling, being overwhelmed with emotion, feeling the darkness, and then educating yourself on what's going on, then getting settled into yourself, feeling some more, and then now, looking into the future, it seems to me that once we get settled and aligned with our true self, then we bring out our biggest gifts and then we share them. Because
Mhm.
to me, this is the need. If I look into the spiritual aspect of things, especially, then I see the need for those gifts to come out. Because in times of these big, it is a crisis, but it's also a time of huge change. And I think we can all make it to be a change for the better by stepping up and then realizing what those gifts of ours are, and then offering them and sharing them, and maybe sharing them even in new ways. There will
Mhm.
be new technologies, they're being invented every day, and then to see how we can offer that. And so working from that place, and looking at things from that standpoint, it does seem to me like a lot of action, also a lot of doing is required after the initial shock, getting settled, feeling and adapting, and then figuring out what
Yeah.
it is that we are supposed to do and what it is that these times are asking of us.
And I think that's a really interesting challenge on itself because there's so much uncertainty. Like you're talking about technology that is coming forward more and more in the world. And there's so much that we don't know, that our brain cannot even imagine. When we think about AI and this new futuristic technology, I don't know anything about that. I don't know how to create robots, but that is the future. And my point is, my mind cannot imagine what is about to be birthed in this world, in this future that is very close to us. So the only place, the only way for me to connect to that place, to that future, is through deep meditation. It's to connect with my higher self, to connect with my guides and connect with my heart, and to let myself be a channel, and to receive information from that place that is greater than my cognitive mind, that my brain, that my imagination. Creating a lot of stillness, being in my center, to be just to be a conduit to receiving, downloading, channeling information, because we just have no idea. Nobody has any idea of what it's going to look like. So really, it's like the next level of completely letting go, and just, yeah, and being of service, not having any attachments, and just receiving information from a higher place. That's what I see as the only choice that we have now. The way we used to live is not gonna apply anymore.
Yeah, I think the number one thing of all things that you just mentioned is being of service. So being in our heart and then being really connected to yourself, and at the same time also being connected, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, being a channel, and from a higher place,
Mm-hmm.
feeling into what's being asked of us to do, and then finding ways how to do it
Mm-hmm.
for the best and highest good of ourselves and others, with
Mm-hmm.
the main intention of serving others and helping in these challenging times.
Yeah. And it can be really different from one person to another. It can just be, for a mother that has her children at home, to stay centered and try to stay composed, and try to have a calm energy around her little ones. That might be what the higher self of that person needs to accomplish. And that can be the most beautiful things that mother can do, is to support her kids and her loved one in a compassionate, loving light. Or it can be a cashier working right now and feeling all this anxiety and keeping the smile on her face and keeping herself centered in her heart and bringing this calm and loving vibration emanating from her, so that can be touching all the people that go through that store on that given day. And that is beautiful. That can be so simple. Our soul calling can be looking very different from one person to another, and there's no right or wrong way to be right now. But the best way for me is to be in alignment. Yeah, alignment with your soul and your truth and your heart at this time.
Yeah, it won't look different for everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important to be centered and connected and grounded and in our heart and peaceful as well.
And there's so many different ways, and that's the beauty of this time we live in. There's so much inspiration, there's so much free content that we have access to right now. So many resources that are like right at our fingertips. It doesn't matter how, wealthy we are. There's so much free support. We have access to so much. It is really key, and it is key for our personal mental health and physical health. We have to make conscious choices to care for ourselves. And we can also make different choices. We can choose to overeat all our snacks. Everything that we bought in the store is supposed to last us weeks. To eat it all right away and play video games all day, or watch, fearful apocalypse thrillers on Netflix all day, and just we can feed the fear and the anxiety, or we can choose differently, and that's the power that is given to us. We have the choice, and it's all at our fingertips, and it's about valuing this impact that we can have on our loved ones and on our community and on the world at large. And that the way we choose to show up every day is going to impact others. That our vibration matters, that our words matters, the way we express ourselves in these times matters, and it's gonna impact other people around us. And the way we show up for them it's affecting everybody. And it's a time like these that we realize that we're all connected. There's this unity, this oneness that is coming to the forefront. It's not just a concept. It's very real right now, that we're so connected, that borders don't matter, and that it doesn't matter where you come from. Your race doesn't matter. How wealthy you are, how healthy you are, you will impact others in the way you walk your life at this time. So there's the illusion of separation is just really crumbling down right now.
Yeah, so not feeding the fear and instead feeling the fear and releasing the fear, or just focusing on the positive. How do you do it?
Both. I'll allow myself to feel both within every given day. Or maybe there's a day that I'm going to want to focus on just the positive, and I'm only going to connect, I'm going to be very picky and consciously choose programs and, music that is going to be uplifting. And I might watch a comedy on TV, and I might read a novel that is really inspiring, and I'm going to connect with friends online that are, this type of personality, positive, uplifting people. I might choose to be, it's only going to be a day of that. And maybe another day when I feel really resourceful, I can connect again, to the news and to the science, and just plugged back in to the mainstream information, just to see what do I need to know at this time? What is the most important information that I need to know at this time? But I will come equipped, and I will come resourced and nourished emotionally. My nervous system is going to be strong when I choose to connect to those. Those fear channels, those drama centered channels. And then I'm gonna, I'm gonna choose to not stay there very long. I'm not gonna watch the news for 5 hours. I'm gonna connect maybe for an hour, and then I'm gonna, okay, thank you. I'm gonna close it, and then I'm gonna dance a bit. I'm gonna put some nice songs and shake it off. I'm gonna breathe. I might meditate, or I might go for a walk in nature to shift my energy and shift my connect to something else, shift my nervous system to and plug into another channel. I found it very important right now to plug in and then unplug, plug in, unplug, and to really notice if I talk to a loved one, and that loved one was very distressed, and that on that given day, it might really affect me. I might really be concerned about them, about their mental health, or about their financial security, or what else it might be. But I have to realize that that might affect me. I might take on, I might absorb their worries and their fear, and it's important for me to shake it off, because it's not my story. My story is it's the way I live my life. I walk my life. And what's important is to hold space for them, to support them in the best way I can, but it's not to absorb their fear and their distress, and because that's not helpful. If I'm there struggling with them, I won't be able to help them and support them. I need to, hold space for them, and then retrieve and nourish myself before I can do it again for somebody else.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And out of all the tools that you're using, which one of those tools would you consider to be most important at this time?
For me, the most important tools are the tools that help me shift my energy. And that's why, I'm talking about those channels that I plug in and out. So, energy healing, meditation, Kundalini yoga, Qigong, and then exercise, going for a run, or punching a punching bag, something that is really going to move the energy. Yeah. So not necessarily going, taking a nap, rather the opposite. Yeah. Consciously intending to shift my energy, my vibration. Those are the most important for me. When we plug in into nature, we feel that when we go for a hike in the mountains, when we are alone in the forest, we can feel that that frequency of peace. The more I have over the years, allow myself to reach deeper into the earth, to go down deep, 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 and to do that on a very regular basis, all day long, all night long, to intend that to remain, this connection to remain. The more I was able to understand what this word peace really mean. It is so, 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 so important for me in my spiritual practice. It's the most important thing there is for me, actually. Yes, it's important. So I have dialed up my meditation practice. I'm meditating more than ever, so I can feel resourced, so I can feel that my nervous system is, deeply soothed and deeply nourished. I'm going to put a very good list of resources where people can find, hopefully, very inspiring content and very helpful um, inspiration in this time. So yeah, and I'm available. I'm online on all the social media platforms. So if anyone has question or needs support, they can send me a message. I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Melanie. Yes, I'll make sure to post the links to have the links placed in the description of this episode so that people can connect like that and find those resources, including yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, you're very welcome. Thanks so much again. For our listeners, is there anything you would like to, any message you would like to give, or anything you would like to say to our listeners right now?
To really keep in mind that there's many part that is that make a human being. There's the logical mind, there's the inner child, there's the wisdom keeper that is connected to our higher self and our soul, and then that really keep that in mind, that the to nourish each part of ourselves, and really try to figure out what really nourishes us and really soothes us and inspire us at this time, and make conscious choice. It's like really being really mindful to how we feed our mind, our heart, our soul, our energy, our body, that we have a choice, and we have to be responsible of that. We need to stand in our power and all our strength, and of course not to dismiss any feelings. Every feeling is valid, but we need to be really resourceful right now, and we need to ask for help, for support. There's so much resource out there. There's so many amazing teachers and leaders that are offering free classes and talks and meditations, and there's so much that we have access to right now, and that's how we're incredibly fortunate to have access to so much, and we have the responsibility to take care of ourselves, to make important choices at this time, to show up for each other, and for the world around us. It's not something to take lightly. I think it's more important than ever.
Yes, thank you for this, Melanie. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you, Bran. Thank you for having me.
That's all for this episode. I'm Bran, your host. Follow me on Instagram at BEnergyAware and send me a message there or through my website, BEnergyAware.com. And please share this podcast with anyone you feel might benefit from tuning in. To get notified of the upcoming free online events that I will be hosting, please sign up for the BEnergyAware newsletter. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Friday.